Some people do not stay because they are weak. They stay because they know exactly how the pain will arrive. They know the sound of the door closing. They know the silence that follows an argument. They know how long the punishment will last, which words will be used against them, and what part of themselves they must hide to survive another night. They know when to speak. They know when to disappear. They know how to read a face before a single word is spoken. And although this life is destroying them, there is something strangely comforting about knowing how the destruction works. Outside that familiar pain waits another life, a life they claim to want: freedom, peace, a different relationship, a different career, a different version of themselves. But that life has no map. It offers no guarantees. It asks them to walk away from everything they understand and step into a future they cannot predict. That is why some people would rather live inside a known nightmare than wake up in an unfamiliar world. Because the human mind does not always choose what is good. Very often, it chooses what it recognizes. And sometimes, what it recognizes is pain. It asks whether it has survived it before. That distinction changes everything. If you grew up inside emotional chaos, you may have learned to detect danger before you learned to experience peace. You learned the footsteps of an angry parent. You learned what different tones of voice meant. You learned how to become quiet, useful, invisible, entertaining, or obedient, depending on what the room demanded. You became skilled at survival. But no one taught you how to live when survival was no longer necessary. Years later, you might enter a peaceful room and feel uncomfortable. No one is angry. No one is threatening to leave. No one is making you earn their affection. Yet something inside you remains tense. You wait for the atmosphere to change. You search for the hidden threat. You may even create conflict because peace feels too quiet, and quietness once meant that something terrible was about to happen. People may tell you that you are sabotaging your happiness. But from inside your nervous system, it may not feel like sabotage. It may feel like preparation. You are trying to make the unknown become familiar again. You are turning uncertainty into a form of pain you understand. Because known pain gives you a role. You know who to become inside it. Unknown. Peace does not. Imagine two doors. Behind the first door is pain. You have opened it 1,000 times. You know where the pain stands. You know what it wants. You know approximately how badly it will hurt. Behind the second door is something unknown. It could be freedom. It could be rejection. It could be loneliness. It could be transformation. It could be everything you have secretly wanted, but you cannot see through the door. To the logical mind, the second door contains possibility. To an anxious mind, it contains danger. Research into uncertainty and anxiety shows that unpredictable threats can create powerful anticipatory responses. Sometimes not knowing whether or when something painful will happen produces more distress than facing a threat that can be anticipated. This is one of the cruelest traps inside the mind. Certainty can feel safer than possibility, even when the only thing certain is suffering. That is why someone may remain in a job that is slowly killing their spirit. They know the humiliation there. They know the exhaustion. They know what their life will look like next Monday, next month, and perhaps 5 years from now. Leaving could lead to something better, but leaving could also expose them to failure. And failure would not merely cost them money. It could force them to confront a terrifying question. What if I am not capable of becoming the person I imagined? So they remain where they are, not because they love the cage, because they understand its dimensions. The prisoner may hate the walls, but at least the walls tell them where the world ends. Freedom removes those boundaries, and for someone who has built an identity around endurance, freedom can feel less like liberation and more like falling. You may be attracted to recognition. This is where relationships become dangerous. A person enters your life and something about them feels instantly familiar. Their emotional distance feels mysterious. Their unpredictability feels exciting. Their approval feels valuable because it is difficult to earn. You feel a powerful connection. You call it chemistry. You call it destiny. You tell yourself that you have never felt this deeply about anyone. But sometimes that powerful feeling is not love recognizing its future. It is an old wound recognizing its past. Their distance feels familiar because you once had to chase affection. Their silence feels familiar because love was once withdrawn to control you. Their inconsistency feels familiar because you learned that connection could disappear without warning. Now, when someone offers stable affection, you may not feel the same intensity. They answer your messages. They communicate clearly. They do not make you compete for their attention. There is no emotional puzzle to solve, no affection to earn, no rejection to reverse. And because your nervous system has associated longing with love, this healthy connection may feel strangely empty. You may say there is no spark, but what if the missing spark is anxiety? What if the butterflies you keep chasing are not signs of compatibility? What if they are your body warning you that it has entered a familiar emotional environment? Healthy love can feel boring to someone trained by instability, not because healthy love lacks depth, but because it does not continuously activate the fear of loss. Without the fear, there is no chase. Without the chase, there is no relief. Without the relief, the person may believe there is no passion, so they walk away from peace and return to the kind of person who makes them question their worth. Not because suffering is what they consciously desire, because suffering has become entangled with their understanding of intimacy. Freud used the term repetition compulsion to describe the tendency to repeat painful patterns, even when those patterns do not produce pleasure. The idea is disturbing because we want to believe we make decisions based entirely on conscious desire. We want to believe that if something hurts us badly enough, we will naturally avoid it. But human beings do not always move away from unresolved pain. Sometimes they circle back to it. They recreate it with different people, in different homes, under different names. A person controlled by a parent may later enter a controlling relationship. Someone emotionally abandoned in childhood may repeatedly choose unavailable partners. Someone who spent years trying to rescue an unstable caregiver may grow into an adult who feels valuable only when rescuing damaged people. The faces change. The emotional architecture remains the same. Some psychologists have suggested that repetition can contain an unconscious attempt at mastery. This time, perhaps, you will change the ending. This time, the distant person will choose you. This time, the angry person will become gentle because of your love. This time, the person you rescue will finally appreciate your sacrifice. You are no longer only dealing with the person standing in front of you. You are fighting every moment in your past when you were powerless. You believe that if you can make this relationship work, you can prove that you were always worthy of the love you did not receive. But the repetition rarely heals the original wound. More often, it deepens it, because you are asking someone who resembles your pain to become the cure for it, and they may have no intention of saving you. After enough years, suffering is no longer merely something happening to you. It becomes part of the story you use to explain who you are. You become the one who survives, the one who sacrifices, the one who holds everything together, the one who receives nothing but continues giving, the one who is always betrayed, the one nobody understands. These identities can be painful, but they can also provide meaning. If the pain disappeared tomorrow, you might expect immediate happiness. Instead, you could experience emptiness. Without someone to rescue, who are you? Without a crisis to solve, where does your value come from? Without an enemy to blame, what must you finally take responsibility for? Without constant chaos, what thoughts will rise in the silence? This is why some people unconsciously rebuild the conditions they claim to hate. Chaos protects them from introspection. The emergency gives them direction. The toxic relationship gives them a mission. The unavailable person gives them someone to chase. The pain fills every room inside them, leaving no space for the questions they have spent their entire life avoiding. Healing threatens this identity. It does not merely ask them to release their suffering. It asks them to meet the person underneath it, and that person may feel like a stranger. The familiar past asks almost nothing new from you. You already know how to survive there. But the future may demand boundaries. It may demand self-respect. It may demand that you disappoint people who benefited from your lack of limits. It may require you to stop explaining yourself, to leave without receiving an apology, to accept that the closure you deserve may never arrive, to stop confusing being needed with being loved, to stop returning to people simply because loneliness became uncomfortable. And perhaps most painfully, the future may require you to grieve, not only the person you are leaving, but the dream you built around them, the years you invested, the version of them you kept waiting to meet, the life you imagined would begin once they finally changed. Leaving familiar pain means accepting that some of your hope was attached to an illusion. That is not a small loss. It can feel like a death. So you return one more time. You send one more message. You offer one more chance. You lower one more boundary. You tell yourself you need more evidence, even though the pattern has already answered you 100 times. Because as long as you stay, the fantasy remains alive. Leaving does not only end the pain, it ends the possibility that the pain might someday justify itself. This is the truth many people do not want to face. Some cages remain closed because there is a guard standing outside. Others remain closed because the prisoner has forgotten that they are allowed to touch the door. You may be waiting for courage to arrive before you leave, but courage rarely arrives first. Usually, fear arrives first, then uncertainty, then grief, then the trembling decision to move anyway. You may not feel ready because the version of you capable of living that new life can only be built by entering it. You cannot become free while demanding that freedom feel familiar. It will not. At first, freedom may feel lonely. Peace may feel suspicious. A boundary may feel cruel. Rest may feel irresponsible. Healthy love may feel too quiet. A stable life may feel empty without a crisis demanding your attention. This does not always mean you have made the wrong decision. Sometimes it means your body is adjusting to a life it was never taught to expect. The absence of pain does not immediately feel like happiness when pain has been your home. At first, it simply feels unfamiliar. And the unfamiliar is where the next battle begins. Because once you understand why you keep returning to familiar pain, you must confront a harder question. If the cage is open, why are you still inside? We've just explored part 1 of Why Familiar Pain Feels Safer Than an Unknown Future. Tomorrow, we'll continue with part 2, where we uncover why freedom can initially feel like danger and how to finally break the cycle of familiar pain. Until then, take care of your mind.